gosh dang, okay. This is a joke as well.
You know your jokes are good when you have to tell people.
If you guys took second place at the beanbag tournament last night, you'd also be as down as I am today. But I think the whole point is everything's kind of teeing up that it's harder, and I think there's some realities of that. And I think the whole thing is, did anybody read the book Good to Great, Jim Collins? Great book. Okay, thank you for the proud hands. All right. Brave people. One of my favorite lines out of that entire book is great companies accept the brutal truths. Like, it's just a reality. And so I think like the economy's getting worse. How we keep investors, because of how they behave, resident renewal rates and costs are getting harder to deliver. So what should we do? So one of the things I'm a big fan of, has anybody actually raise your hand, has heard about the ladder of maintenance excellence? Okay, only 4 of you. Seriously? Okay, all right. Marketing, we gotta talk. So it's a joke, but it's kind of not in the sense that like if anybody was sitting there, and by the way, I'll actually give you the QR code. There's a gentleman taking a picture right there. Got it. You guys want to download a high-def version of that. But I'll explain what it is, but I think it's about understanding our business more and how do we become more known and how to change these outcomes, right? How do we get those Google reviews? How do we control costs? How do we improve our resident renewal rate? And the big thing about coming up with this, has anybody heard of Maslow's ladder of hierarchical needs? Brave hands. Okay, now there's like 10 people. Public education. 11 for the sir. Good job. 12. Good. All right, let's take it on. Basically, the concept is we have to get some things right or satisfied before we can move on to the next. And in maintenance, if our goal is to create a reduced maintenance cost that's predictable, we have to start with communication and engagement. We've got to be able to do that. And then once you do that, you get to scheduling efficiency, which is your speed. Once you get to that, you can start staffing appropriately. Deb, I think we were talking yesterday, I want to make sure that we spend time on this, like how you're charging for staff and everybody's taking the cut and not finding ways to do it. I don't want to take that away from you. But anyways, it goes all the way up. And so it's becoming more known about how to accomplish these things. And if you do want to check this out, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but this ladder of maintenance excellence has leading and lagging indicators all the way up to investor retention, all the way down to how fast an investor is responding to approvals, which I'm sure is probably harder than ever.
Yeah, I got a comment on this, and we might get to another slide down the road. If we do, I apologize, but sometimes it's hard to just quantify the data, right? One of the things that I love about Property Meld and their new insights portion of the software is it gives you very clear-cut data by your team members, what each one of them's resident satisfaction is, right? So it's got that, if you want, it's got that benchmark right there for you, and it works. We started using this as one of our KPIs that we hold our property managers who do maintenance to, and it's unbelievable once they started competing how they can raise their scores. We had a guy that started out and he was like a 3.8, and he found this out, and like 2 months later he was a 5.0. Right? He had no idea. He didn't know they were unhappy, but then he worked to make them happy and to get a perfect score. So you pit your team members against each other, and everybody comes out on top. I mean, that's how it works.
Hunger Games or something.
Yes.
So I think everybody's here because obviously the topic of maintenance is really it's critical in our industry. And so I love maintenance, and I think it's one of the things that people sometimes fear and avoid as much as possible. Whether it doesn't matter how you're set up, whether you're pod style, your portfolio, your department, your hybrid. Somebody at some point in your organization is touching maintenance throughout the life cycle, right? For the minute you onboard a property, there's something going on, whether it needs to be cleaned, maybe you have to do some small renovations to get it ready, and then once the tenant is ready to move in, maybe you have to do a little Swiffer cleaning, and then during the tenancy, you have maintenance, right? And then the tenant moves out, and you have maintenance. So maintenance touches every single part of what we do. It's actually the most fundamentally important thing of property management. I used to say I had a maintenance company that happened to do property management because I focused all of my attention on maintenance, which really resulted in better, data in my property management company. Things, renewals and move-ins and move-outs. It alleviated the stress that my team had. Because the fear that they have of an owner calling or a tenant calling and them not having the answer is a big deal. So if we can shift our mindset to just focus on the one piece that's so fundamentally important, which is maintenance, and how do we make that better, then it will actually shift your business entirely. And lease, days on market might shift, because it can be a direct correlation of that, or it could be market. There's a lot of variables, but I think what we have to do is look at who we have touching these really key critical pieces, and do they even know the impact that they have? So you might have some people that are not the right people in that seat, and you have to make some hard decisions, because it's never gonna go away.
I'll ask a follow-up question. First of all, I didn't hear an amen on some of the things she said. We'll accept it, that's fine. But Michael, kind of jumping off of something she said, was talking about how this impacted. You mentioned an interesting thing around the people and the visibility of their own performance and some of those key elements. So you kind of talked about some of that stuff in there, but maybe talk about how your visibility and organization has changed to really drive some of that. And Deb, if you've got anything there you're seeing from clients.
Yeah, so just to go a little further, there are a number of statistics. One of those statistics is just the speed of repair. If you're just using the maintenance that's available to you in AppFolio, I don't know about their new smart maintenance, but it doesn't tell you, it doesn't keep track of those stats. There's no dashboard that I can look at that says, speed of repair for this employee was 1 day or 24 hours or 18 hours or whatever it is. But you can dive down into those stats and figure out why that team member's rating is 3.8 as opposed to 5. It's just incredibly helpful, and it does it all for you. And Ray basically had to twist my arm to just get me to look at this, but I'm super thankful that he did. Actually, I'm sure it was Madison. But anyway, it's changed our business for sure, 100% on the maintenance side of things. Being able to have that transparency into the data helps you, help that person improve. Who wants to do a bad job? Anybody that's ever been like, God, I can't wait to go to work today and do a bad job? It's not fun.
Here's a metric that I really, really like, and I think, again, it will actually open our eyes up to different parts of our business. So if you think about it, and you have a tenant that's moving in the first 30 days, how many of you want to see work orders in that first 30 days of them moving in? The goal would be 0. It might be a little bit of a stretch goal, but you might want to start off with saying, okay, we need to work on, because that's when the tenants actually submit the most work orders right away, is that they felt that, whether you did a contactless move-in, maybe you moved them in person, but keep in mind, if you're doing a move-in in person and you're handing them the keys because you're like, we want to have that customer experience, we're really hoping that they can see us and we can see them, and we're talking it through. But you've got 10 move-ins that day. So you're rushed, they're rushed, they got a U-Haul, they got friends helping them, they've got not little time to walk through the property, and even if you said, well, I've already walked through it, you just can mark down what you see is different, and then just get it back to us. We've talked about this a lot at this conference, and I see a trend of this customer experience happening, focusing more on what that experience looks like. You can still have a really good experience and it still be contactless. COVID helped us with that. So we can still have a contactless experience, but also still hit some of these key points to make sure that when they move in, that they know, hey, don't fill out a work order. Instead, make sure that we have it rent ready and all of our expectations are aligned. And that's the key, is are these expectations aligned? Do they know that they are what they are renting and when they walked in, and this is what they're getting, and it meets the expectations of the company for rent ready and everything like that. So some of those metrics can actually be very telling to say, where did we fail along the way? Did we not do a really good job on prepping them, on understanding what the expectation is for us, and submitting a work order, not submitting a work order. But that should be a goal. 0 work orders in the first 30 days of a move-in.
I'll tell you something really exciting we're working on. Does anybody follow Peter Lohman? Yeah, I'm a little annoyed there's more hands up than that in the letter. That's fine. Good job, Peter. Proud of you.
They thought they were going to the Peter Lohman talk.
So Peter and I get to talk a little bit about this, and we've talked about this concept. Can maintenance actually change lease length? And so one of your things that you said in the first 30 days, one of our hypotheses, is we're actually doing one of the most comprehensive study on behaviors that impact lease lengths. And so on resident experience and maintenance, we're pretty excited about it. So next year we're going to do it. Peter's going to get a break, and I already told him we let him do it, but it'll be the conversation next year. And so if you guys have any more of those hypotheses, please let me know, because it's a large data set to go through. But anyways,